Hello, my friends. Welcome to Word Made Digital. I'm your host, Joanna Fleur, and you're watching the YouTube version of the podcast. Week after week, we're coming at you with conversations with creatives and communicators all about how to communicate the best news in the world, but in the digital age. Thanks so much for watching, checking out this episode. If you want to know more, you want to check out more of our free resources, go to wordmadedigital.com or browse around this YouTube channel and you're definitely going to find some content that will help you. And of course, thank you so much to our sponsors. Compassion Canada and Wycliffe College are making this podcast possible. Enjoy the interview. Meisha Watson, welcome to Word Made Digital. I'm really glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Joanna.
Can you introduce yourselves to us? Who are you?
Yes, I certainly can. My name is Meisha Watson, Meisha Lorraine Watson, born and raised in London, England. I've lived in Canada for almost 16 years. And throughout that time, I've been able to develop a career in television. I've worked at YTV's The Zone and Zone Weekend for a bunch of years, which was fantastic. Before that, TV, commercials, et cetera, et cetera. But today, I'm the creator and host of Hey Meisha, which is a biblical teaching variety show for children. It is amazing. If you love Nickelodeon vibes, Fresh Prince vibes, a little bit of Wendy Williams vibes, and you love Jesus, this is the one for your kids.
But it's for kids, but it's not just for kids. I feel like great TV for kids is also great TV for adults.
I'll take it. The biggest thing that I learned from YTV was what co-view is. YTV's The Zone happens at like 4 to 6 p.m., which means that a lot of kids are coming home from school, but their parents are getting dinner ready. So they're watching it alongside their kids. And so that's kind of like what was my mentality with making the show and writing it, was that parents would laugh when kids laughed. I don't want it to go over any kids' heads, but I never want to talk down to children. So what that does is make sure that the content and the humor is great for parents and kids as well.
Okay, you're referencing back to YTV, which for people outside of Canada, the reference point is like a Nickelodeon kind of a vibe. How did you get into kids TV in the first place? Like, you had a fairly big public acting role, hosting role on kids TV in Canada. How'd that happen for you?
Yeah, it's so funny. Before YTV happened, I was just an actor trying to make it happen, running out to auditions for anything, you know, whether it was like snack food or milk commercials or acting on stage in like really intense dramas and things like that. It was just a whole different like perspective I had on what it meant to be an actor. When I got the opportunity to go to YTV, the audition process was kind of secretive. I didn't know it was going to be on this big network. I didn't know I would be on this show that like I grew up watching. Like, I had no idea. And then I think it was like the day before I went for my audition, they told me where to go. And I was like, wait, that's the YTV studios. And so I show up, and the guy I've been watching since I was a kid, Carlos Bustamante, is standing beside me being chill about it. And I'm auditioning with him, trying to be like, yeah, like we're on the same page. Like, no. He's so fantastic, and he's literally Canada's sweetheart in my books. And so I auditioned with him, and I had the time of my life. But the main reason why I was excited to do it was because at YTV, I got to not only be an actor and do comedy, which I love, but I was able to be myself. As a host, you just get to be yourself and talk in your own accent and be English and not necessarily North American standard dialect. And then also I got to like inspire children, and that was the first kind of taste at inspiring children. And obviously since then I've grown to love it. But yeah, it was a crazy, wild ride. And man, I couldn't replace the experience I had there. It was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing training ground.
Yeah.
For like the rest of your career. But you also then just made a bold step to leave what would be for a young actor or TV host, like the pinnacle opportunity in terms of like prime time kids TV, you left it.
Yeah.
You quit for Christian content. What happened?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
It's so crazy. Like, towards the end of my time at YTV, I was getting really antsy. I needed to start. I started like pitching ideas for the show, and you're not able to write on the show and be a performer on the show. It's like, or maybe I wasn't. I'm not really sure how that worked, but there wasn't the opportunity to write while I was there. And that meant that the things that I found funny and people who find humor funny, that like, you know, people who are like me find funny, I wasn't able to write about it. So I wasn't able to perform it. So what that meant was I felt super stifled. And so I started producing gigs and stuff like that outside of YTV to kind of fulfill the yearning I had to really be in charge of what I was saying and what I was, how I was entertaining kids. And so I knew I needed a change. And that's kind of how it came to me that I needed, although I didn't have, how do I put it, tons of experience in producing, I needed someone to take a risk on me to make my own show. And that's what happened.
And so the people taking the risk were the Canadian Christian content producer.
Yeah. So essentially it was an interview. So I was like, at that point, towards the end of YTV, maybe like 2.5 years in, I started producing certain things, and I started doing more interviews with people and more podcast interviews, and just kind of started like kind of trying to raise my star in a sense, so that I could foray all that I had accomplished at YTV and the I guess stardom in a sense at YTV to a different career or a different part, like a different level in my career. And at that time, I went to an interview at a Christian show, which I'd never even heard of before. And I thought, oh, sure, like I get to have my makeup done. Love it. And so I went to it. And then while I was there, I met the CEO of a Christian agency that I'm with right now called Crossroads. And they said, hey, would you like to pitch some shows to us? And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And they took the risk on me. I think primarily it was because I did come from, as you said, a great training ground of children's TV. And I was producing things, although it wasn't kids content that I was producing as a freelancer, I was already producing stuff. I was already writing things. So they were willing to take a risk on me by giving me a show. But I had talent and I had gifts that were suitable to it. So I think they were like, this is a calculated risk going with Meisha. So that's why they gave me the shot.
Wow. And so the big question for me, I think next would just be like, why kids stuff? Why is you could do TV for anybody. You could do media development for any group of people. Why children's programming? Like what gets you revved up about that? What do we not understand about how good it is and how important it is to do kids TV?
Well, I'll say, as far as the media industry and entertainment industry, there are a few of us who take it really seriously. A lot of people kind of put like kids ministry or children's entertainment to the side. Like, oh yeah, we should probably get something for the kids as well. Like, we have a huge conference. What are the kids going to do? And it's always kind of like an aside. But working at YTV, kids content was my first and foremost. It was everything I was doing. We were always thinking about what kids are up to right now, what they were doing right now, what they're watching right now, what they're learning right now, what's the education system saying right now. So we were always kind of in that space. So I think it was more of just a smooth smooth transition into kids entertainment from YTV into Hey Meisha. But I didn't necessarily choose it. It just kind of happened for me. I kind of thought and I know my career will go in so many different ways as I move throughout this industry, but it's just that right now it made the most sense because I love what I do. I love kids content. I love that there's more freedom to be absurd and ridiculous in children's content. The comedy can be wholesome. I also personally really enjoy that. I mean, let me tell you something. I love watching like The Handmaid's Tale all that sort of stuff. Like I love the dark and dreary and gloomy stuff too. But there's something wholesome about kids content that really works with my spirit and my soul. And I feel like that was like a kindred spirit vibe of me. Like I was able to just kind of like latch onto that and be like, oh, I can really talk about my faith, and I can really talk about what I'm learning in the Bible and who I'm learning that Jesus is. And also I can do it in a really funny way, an absurd way, a ridiculous way, and really kind of hone my skills on something that meant a lot to me. So I hope that was clear. I know that's a bit over the pace, but yeah.
No, it's good. I mean, because we're friends, I've heard some of your own story too about really just reflection on what you felt like you didn't hear as a kid that you want to bring to kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or what you misunderstood maybe about God.
Oh, for sure, man. I tell you, I left church at like 16. I didn't arrive back into church until I was 24. So for the most part, that like middle section there where I was like, I guess, formative years outside of the household, I only had a few things to hold on to. And those few things were trust in God, try to be a good person. And essentially try to be a good person was really daunting to me, and also vague and confusing and bewildering. And that's why with nowadays, when I talk to kids, I make it really simple that you should try and be a good person. I mean, that's part of our human nature. We want to be good. We want to do the right thing or whatever. But at the end of the day, Jesus came down to save us from ourselves, you know? And I think, you know, God, I personally believe that God is good and Jesus is good. And so therefore, what I consider to be good isn't, you know? Like God is what good is. God is perfection. You know, I am the only part of me that is anywhere near perfection is the fact that the Holy Spirit lives inside of me. I have to come to that conclusion. And in teaching children that when you do a bad thing, it doesn't mean God loves you any less. In fact, he knew you were going to do that thing, and he loved you before you even considered doing that thing. So the imperfection part of being a human, I think we don't talk to kids about that at all. We just tell them, be good, don't do bad, you know, and that's it. And kids are left with, oh, I've already done that. You know, I think about the children right now who already suffer from porn addiction before the age of 16 years old. And they don't call it that, but that's what it is. Kids are so used to seeing certain things on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and their parents can't imagine that that's what their kids are seeing, but that's what they're seeing. And so they think when they go to a youth conference and someone tells them to be good and do right and these kind of things and make it really just, oh, it's got to be simple, then kids feel all alone in it, which obviously, you know, snowballs into mental health issues and whatever. But I want kids to know that the only perfect part of us is the Holy Spirit. And we were made in the image of God, but we are sinful beings. So I think it's just important that we just keep it real with them. I'm sick and tired of like not keeping it real with children because they're not prepared when it happens. You know, they lose their faith because they weren't prepared, and that's like our only job as leaders.
Well, and what you're talking about too is not talking down to kids.
Yeah.
Talking up. Like
yeah.
Being fun, playful, and addressing stuff that they actually are going through.
Yeah.
Do you think it's harder to be a kid now than it was when we were kids? We weren't kids so long ago.
Is it harder?
I mean, we're not grandparents.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think, is it harder? It's interesting. You know, I think every generation has what's harder and what's simpler. I would say if you have mental issues now, mental illness, sorry, not issues, mental illness, you suffer from that today. We have more words to describe what it is. So a kid might say, hey, mom, I feel like I might be suffering from bipolar disorder. Like a kid might actually have those words to use. Whereas when I was growing up, it might be like, I'm just confused, I'm just depressed, I'm just sad or whatever. Parents didn't really know where they could go. So there's certain things that are easier in that we have more words for it. Like we create more vocabulary nowadays than we did back in the day. I feel like maybe, I don't know. For instance, when I was growing up, the main thing was bullying. Bullying is bad. What is bullying? And we were kind of diving into what bullying meant, and child help phone, like kids being able to on their own call a 1-800 number for help was brand new when I was a kid. And that's what we would use. I've even called it myself when I was a kid. Now, that's like baked into the school system, that kids can advocate for themselves about what's wrong. But then at the same time, there's a lot of confusion with kids because there is so many things that it could possibly be going on in your life, and, not knowing what to say.
A global pandemic.
Like literally right now I'm thinking to myself, like, we never experienced that as kids. We're experiencing it now with them. So there is that confusion and they're figuring it out. We won't fully know what the true repercussions of this pandemic to the psyche of a child are until years down the line. We've written as many books as we can about it. Probably we will never truly figure out all the repercussions about it. But so yeah, I can't definitively say that it was easier when I was a kid, but I will say that there are definitely more words so that kids can communicate what's really going on in their lives now than there was when I was a kid.
So part of what's going on in our lives, in the lives of kids, is this digital transformation. From when we were kids until now, we grew up. As the internet grew up, we grew up.
Yeah.
As it matured and became something that took over every part of interaction in life.
Yeah.
We grew up too. Talk to me about TV in the age of streaming. What's going on? What do you think the place is for television?
Oh man, I was just talking about this to my coworker. That I don't have cable, and the main reason I don't have cable was because I was like, cable is expensive. What's the point? But now I pay upwards of $60 on all of my streaming apps, podcast apps, and everything.
Yeah, it adds up.
So it's not really the cost anymore as to why, but it's primarily because of I'm able to just choose whatever I want to watch whenever I want to watch it. So, but as far as kids go, that's kind of what they're used to. I would say like the age group that my ministry works with is like probably like 6 or 7 to like 10 or 11, maybe around there. And they are the generation or that age group that didn't ever experience oh no, I've missed my favorite show. Or Mom, can we rush home to watch Fresh Prince at 4 p.m. and then after that will be, Family Guy, and then after that will be Simpsons, and then I got to go to bed. Like that, like lineup, they have no idea what that is. And I remember when I was a kid, like the main reason I wanted to be a host was because of Davina McCall on Big Brother. When I was a kid, she was like the big head honcho of television back in the day. But it was live TV. The Saturday night lineup was 6 p.m. On a Saturday. We'd go to the grocery store and get all the snacks we wanted, our favorite yogurts. We'd sit in front of the TV and watch from 6 to 9 p.m. all of the Saturday night shows with our whole family. And it was a thing we did where we met everyone in front of a television, in front of a television to watch these wonderful shows. But kids don't have that. They expect what they want when they want. And so when I started out Hey Meisha, we, through a wonder of blessings all at the same time, managed to get a budget to make a cable show, which was 28 minutes, 28.50. And it aired on Yes TV every Saturday and Friday morning. What I realized soon after making that show was that all of the kids shows that I know are doing very, very well were short form. They were like 8 to 10 minutes. So we had this huge show that was really, really long. And kids are used to watching things for 8 minutes and whenever they wanted to watch them. Now, by the grace of God, my show is a variety show, which means that we have segments and no segment is longer than 4 minutes. So what we did as soon as the show was done was break it up into segments. So we have certain characters who do, like for instance, we have Auntie D, and we have Leonard, and we have the Good News Kids and the music videos, and everything's in pieces. So now this big show that was originally 3 hours long is 3 hours of content split into 1 to 4 minute segments. So we have tons of content now that we can now market on different platforms in different ways. It could live on TikTok. It can live on, Instagram, Facebook, IGTV, wherever we want it to, in small chunks. We sold it to a streaming platform in the US that's fully short form content. So we're able to say, hey, sure, like we'll break it up in this way and you can show this however you like it. Another thing we did was we've just created small packets. I've been calling them packets, but really it's just like small series where the Sunday school series is all 3 to 4 minute videos that are followed by workbooks. So the kids can watch 4 minutes and then answer questions and do artwork based on what they've learned in that 4 minutes. Same for Christmas. All the videos are 1 to 4 minutes. So these kids can have a condensed version of the story that's dynamic and fun and funny, but they get the information and then they get the application by doing the worksheet, and then they go on about their lives. Like, I just wanted to make sure whatever it was that we were making, the kids could have a takeaway from it. And I've learned by doing that in small bites has been the most beneficial.
So what are you creating right now? What are you excited about?
Yeah.
What are you doing as you look to the future?
Well, so right now there is the Sunday school series, as I mentioned earlier, which is wonderful. We had so many Sunday school teachers reaching out to me on Instagram, on my personal account. I got phone calls to my cell phone, which, you know, I much prefer a text. But from Sunday school teachers saying, hey, we need more stuff. We are burnt out. We are tired. We don't have any more energy or creativity to make things happen as quickly as we need it. So do you have anything for us? And I was like, use the show. Like, we have all these different things. But then I realized I need to just call it the Sunday school series. So that's what we have. Sunday school series, a 5-week program for children and Sunday school teachers and parents alike that they can watch stories like the fiery furnace story, or my story of coming to Canada and learning the Shepherd's Psalm to get me through my transition, moving from Europe to North America. Little stories like that, followed by the workbooks, and that's Sunday school series. And then what I'm also really excited about, which is so exciting, is that I've partnered with 100 Huntley Street, which is like legacy TV. And Hamish is doing a collaboration with them for Christmas, which is hilarious and fun. It's all about Advent. And we're currently editing it right now. So maybe by the time you listen to this, it'll be ready. And it's all kind of like Christmas themed. And we shot it outside. I did my very first remote shoot where I was the host, producer, and like PA person, all this kind of stuff. Outdoors.
You were all the things.
Oh, in the middle of like, it was crazy, but we pulled it off, and it's really high quality content, and that will be available everywhere you find short form content. Actually, that's not true. Maybe free short form content. It's everywhere to find.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I think I saw you posting on social about recording this stuff, and you were trying to do Christmas, but it was like very warm and sunny out, where, you know, at Christmas time here, it might be cold and snowy.
Yeah, essentially, we just had to kind of pivot, you know, that's the word of 2020. But basically, I needed to film it ahead of time because I had so many other things on my plate that I wanted to make sure we gave it its just due as far as editing, real time, let it breathe, all that kind of stuff, which meant that we had to film Christmas content with gorgeous yellow fall trees and green grass and Canadians walking around in shorts and sweatshirts. That was going to air during Christmas. So we've done it. It looks gorgeous. It's fine. You know, we did our movie magic and made it work, but it was definitely hilarious to be like, oh no, it's still gorgeous out.
Now we're in that end of fall, end of November gloom. Okay, so a lot of stuff that comes out of Christian media has a reputation of being bad, crappy, but I think the big word that comes to my mind is cheesy.
Yeah. Where are you going with this, Joe? Come on, here we go.
Well, how do you feel about being associated with that? You know, Christian TV being cheesy, but you left mainline stuff to build Christian content.
Yeah.
How do we not do cheesy content as Christians? I mean, people listening, a lot of people listening are part of churches and organizations that are producing media content.
Yeah.
Or at least they're looking to buy it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Bring to their people.
Mm-hmm.
How do we not do lame stuff. And why do you think Christian content is so lame?
Well, personally, I think it's lame because, or a lot of it is lame, is because we don't want to take a true stance, like with our actual opinion, and be really authentic about what we really think. We want to be a bit more passive and let people just talk about, so how do you feel? Consider this. And instead of saying, this is what I think about what's going on in this is what I stand for. Like, that's probably the main reason why a lot of Christian content that I see past my Instagram, I'm just like exhausted by. Like, let's talk about something real. Let's actually talk about issues. Let's actually, voice our opinions. I think that's part of the reason why, I can't stand a lot of it. But the way I've been able to really be proud of my content and not feel like it was corny or cheesy is I have a really tight grip on the content itself and the creativity behind it and how we promote it. I have never been more focused on how I'm perceived by the greater community of entertainers. When Hey Meisha started, I said, I'm going to put my name on it because it is going to make people know that at the end of the day, it lives and dies by that producer, that writer, Meisha. And I was willing to take that because I said, you know what? I want to love it. And no one will ever be able to make this show without me. So I said, put my name right on there. One of my best friends, Mark Suki, was like, if you ever make a TV show, put your name on it because it'll live and die with you. And I was like,
so that they have to keep you.
They have to keep me. They have to at least ask my opinion on something because I'll be the one promoting it. So I said, you know what? Like every joke that's on Hey Meisha, every color we use, every song that we use, every any promotional piece that's used by Hey Meisha runs by me. And I had this like sad moment once where I won't go into too many specifics because I have learned to let go and to forgive. But I burst into tears because someone else created a poster for Hey Meisha that was like just trash. I was so mad about it. Like so mad about
Was
it.
this thing that they were making like a billboard in like a main
Joanna, oh my gosh, call me so. But yeah, basically it was this really huge thing. And it was already out before it passed by me. And I think the reason that happened was because they thought I was too busy like making the show, like writing the show and producing the show for it to come by me. But I will like not sleep if I need to approve something. I think that's what it has to be. You know what? Like, if you are the pastor of a church, if you are the editor-in-chief of a magazine and something goes wrong, you're going to be the one to answer to it. And so it was very important to me that when people ask me the question you just did, that is, how do you make sure your show isn't corny or cheesy or irrelevant? I would say because I don't want to see corny, cheesy, irrelevant content. I want it to be full of truth, but I also want it to be high quality. Like coming from YTV was probably the greatest thing for Hey Meisha because I saw what was winning Kids Screen Awards. I saw what was winning Kids Choice Awards. I saw what was winning CSAs. I needed to be, those are, for those of you who don't know what CSAs are, those are our Emmys in Canada. I saw what was, winning at content. And I don't base the success of Hey Meisha on other Christian shows. I base them on entertainment as a whole, like kids entertainment worldwide. Like what is the world doing as far as content? And maybe that is what's exhausting me and probably aging me a little bit. But I think it's most important that that I do my best, that I'm proud of it all. And I'll stop when I can no longer do that or I no longer have the passion to do that. One of the late night hosts left a couple years ago. I forget which one it was because I don't really watch late night too much. But when he left, he said, I just lost the passion to do rehearsals and I lost the passion to write it and I lost the passion to come up with fresh new things. And I knew that someone else needed to take this seat. And for me, that's when I'll know I've got to go. I don't know if Hey Meisha will last forever. I believe that there's so much more for me in this in the world for me to accomplish. And I have so many dreams, so many things I want to accomplish. And by the grace of God, I've been able to accomplish a lot so far. But I am not slowing down at all. So I know when the time comes to pass the torch, I will. And I'll be ready to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think the lesson that you're reminding us of or teaching us is when Christian media content, creative content, communication approaches is just constantly being compared to other Christian content, you might feel really good about what you're doing. But then if you would get out of your little bubble and look at what's winning the awards in the world, you know, what is bringing millions of viewers to a show or a piece of content, and what's working, it's not the same kind of cheesiness as in the Christian. So like, I think stuff can get cheesy or lame because it becomes this safe little bubble. And you're competing against just the thing down the church down the street or the Christian media down the road, as opposed to like what's pulling in millions or even 1 billion people to watch it in the world. And how do we learn and grow from what they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm really excited to see kind of what Hey Meisha can do years after I've even finished it, like what it will look like on the grand scheme of things, as far as like this moment in time in kids TV, what people were doing in kids TV. But I, measure my show up to huge kids shows that happen. Every time I talk about Hey Meisha, I'll always say all that Nickelodeon. I'm never saying the things that, you know, are quintessentially Christian or even quintessentially Canadian, because, you know, the message of God and the message of God for children is a global one. And we should be working it like that.
If people want to do this, like they want this kind of job, what would you say to people listening who want to get into this industry that you're in?
Ooh, okay. Well, first of all, just start writing it. My whole life, my mom's been telling me, hey, you should write your own show. And I was like, you're hilarious, Mom. Like, that's cute. But I was writing content my whole life. And I feel like personally, I love a pen and paper. So get yourself a brand new notebook from Indigo. This is not an ad. Buy one, write it in it, and write stories about, you know, whatever it is you want to make. Just write about that. And then if possible, make it. You know, like if you can get a camera and it kind of comes out a little bit crappy to start with, that's fine. Like just start doing it. Because I know one thing happened when I got the budget I got. I was like, oh goodness, like I'm so excited to make this show, but why do they think I'm worth it? Well, it's because they'd already seen the stuff I put on YouTube. The greatest story of me like hustling, it's not the greatest, but one of my favorites is I just totally faked my way into Fashion Week in Toronto like a couple years ago, or this is like probably a bunch of years ago now. But I just really wanted to have something on my reel that looked like I was like a proper host. So I got gorgeous. I got a friend of mine who makes really great jewelry. And it's like she had a $3,000 necklace that she was showing at Fashion Week. I was like, can I wear that? And she's like, yeah, get it back to me on time. I wore the necklace. I got the outfit. I was so broke at the time. So I like, you know, used like one piece of makeup for my entire face, like, you know, blush, little eyeliner, lips or whatever. And I went to Fashion Week and I walked in and I said, hi, I'm a blogger. Like, where do I go? And I ended up making my way into Fashion Week for a great show and interviewing people. And that made it I put it onto my YouTube. And then I got interviews and, you know, podcasts and that sort of thing from being like this host before I'd ever made a dime. I think that's just hustle, like make it happen for yourself, because it can be really fun to kind of do the risky thing. Maybe I don't recommend like, you know, breaking rules and stuff, but sometimes though, you gotta do little, I don't know. It kind of worked for me.
I love it.
Yeah.
And true, what you're saying is you're reminding us like you were stopping yourself. There's nobody else preventing you. Actually, there was really no one preventing you from going to Fashion Week.
That's
you
right.
Just needed to get out there and
be fashionable
for success.
That was it. Look flawless, go in there with confidence. I think one journalist told me when I was like 19 years old, he was like, just what I do is I keep walking until someone tells me to stop. And I was like, you will break the law that way. However, I like your moxie. Like, I like the idea of like, I won't be stopped. You need that. You need it, because the amount of times I've been told that I couldn't do something, oh my goodness me. If I had stopped, I would have never accomplished half of the things I have already. And I still have that same moxie for the rest of my career. So yeah.
Yeah, girl, it's great. Who do you look to? Mentors? Maybe those are people we know the names of, or people we don't. Who is inspiring you, or who is bringing you wisdom as you grow in this career?
Who? That's a really hard. I wish I had someone like off the top of my head who I can think of. A big one for me, I guess, in this very moment is Cheryl Nemhard, who we both do know. But moving from the entertainment industry, like the secular entertainment industry, into the Christian one, I literally was like, I think I'm not polite enough to do this. And Cheryl was like, that's cool. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I can just be real, authentic, and really say what I think. And Cheryl Nemhard was like, heck yeah. And then on top of that, Maggie John, who's the host of Context, she, same thing, was like, every time I would say something on Instagram or Facebook that was countercultural to the Christian community that is fairly like, passive about these issues like justice and Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, she would send me the claps, the emoji claps, and she would reach out to me, and we've had talks and things about that. We've had talks about how to be an advocate for yourself and an activist for yourself. So I think most people that are inspiring me are people who are reminding me to speak up about things rather than how to be a producer or writer. In this time, it's more about how to eloquently speak up for myself so that people hear me, but staying as honest and as authentic as possible along the way.
Yeah, and I love the women that you've named are amazing women, a little bit older than us, and both Black Canadian women.
Yeah.
And so why does that kind of represent, maybe it's obvious to some, but not to others. Why does representation matter? Like, you are naming women who are not white men.
Yeah,
who are
for sure.
Inspiring you and cheering you on. I'm sure some white guys have helped you too, but why does that representation matter in the industry?
Yeah, it matters for me because, I never thought, I guess it made my dreams feel like I feel like I could reach my dreams when I saw it already happening. And for instance, when I was at YTV, someone I looked to was Arissa Cox, and she's the host of Big Brother Canada. And we're pretty close to this day. And that's really special to me, that she's like a Black Canadian, like, juggernaut. Like, she's so cool and so confident and so real and so kind, so compassionate. And that meant something to me, that I could be honest and authentic, but then still considered to be kind and compassionate at the same time. So for me, seeing that, I was like, I'm going to be like that, but me, and the same with Cheryl Nemhard and Maggie John. The reason I really look to them is because they're doing it and they're talking about what it means to be a person of color and be a Black woman in entertainment who's walked into rooms where nobody looks like us and everyone's ready to make us laugh. Sorry, everyone's ready for us to make them laugh and to dazzle and to charm, but no one's willing to hear when we have real things to say. They've done that already. And so when I go into those rooms, I literally have zero filter. Like, I just came out of a meeting recently where I had to be honest and say, oh no, you guys are living in the past. We need to move forward from that. And I felt confident doing that because they broke down the walls before I got there. So in a sense, my generation, like our generation, we don't really have that. I mean, I don't know. I don't have it. And I don't think you do either, where we feel like we have to be PC about what we want to say. Because people before us said it in, the best way they knew how without losing their jobs. Whereas now I don't feel like I'm going to lose my job because I got something to say. Or maybe I will, but, it's like, okay, on to the next. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's more important that we're more authentic and honest. But I think the only reason I was able to do it was because people did that before me. And I was able to see that. If there wasn't representation, it might be happening in, boardrooms and, church offices or whatever, but I never saw it. I would have never seen it. So for me, it's most important that, people who look like me, Black women who are in entertainment, are at the forefront. I want people to look at their boards, board of directors or whatever, and look at them and say, what does it look like? People always say, oh, we want to reach out to the younger generation. I'm like, are there any younger people on your board? Are there any younger people making decisions? At the company I work at now, I'm on a diversity team. So I have opportunities to actually speak directly to the CEO without any filter. Like, it's just me and the CEO in a conversation talking about how we can make sure that, people don't suffer what I have suffered at the hands of, white evangelical Christian, prehistoric rules and regulations and expectations. Like, the things that I've had to go through won't happen again, or I hope they won't happen again, but because I'm sitting in that seat. And so I'm honest and open about the fact that I'm on this diversity team and that I am doing these things because I want people who are younger to see, hey, I'm doing this now so that later this shouldn't be a problem for you. Or if it is, you can stand up and say, hey, we're going backwards. It's just so important that people see it. So important.
Yeah. Yeah. In a different direction on this kind of topic of representation, I have a friend whose father was in media journalism and is in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And at one point somebody said to him, oh, the only reason you're getting this job is because you're the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
This is a white guy in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time he kind of just said, like, so what? So what if that's the reason I got in the door? Like, because once I get there, I'm going to be like the best journalist, the most professional, whatever. And then it's not going to be anything about the wheelchair anymore. It's going to be because I'm an excellent journalist. So if that was the thing that got me in the door, or the checkbox they were going for, some token, his approach was, that's fine. I'm going to prove myself anyways. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I know some people wouldn't agree with that position.
Right.
That makes, like, they don't want to just be the token. I don't know.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Like, when you're talking about a diversity committee, do you feel like it's just checking a box, or do you feel like there is an opportunity and a voice?
Well, that's the funny thing, is that the thing with tokenism, or being the token, being the first, is that someone does need to be the first, and someone does need to be the answer to, hey, you don't have a diverse community here. Cool. Let's hire people so that we are diverse. That's like the first, obviously the first solution. So by no means am I against being the first or being the token or whatever. I know my skills means that I will be able to pull it off in a phenomenal manner. But someone does need to be the first, and someone does need to be the one that breaks down that barrier for whatever reason it is. So in a sense, I do have that kind of similar attitude where I'm like, okay, sure. However, do I have deciding power, actually? Like, is the tokenism for show? Because if that's the case, burn it down. Like, just burn it all down. Yeah. I much prefer to, do something all by myself, to be a part of a group that has me there just because of what it looks like. And I think that's why if you're looking around at a lot of like television news stations and TV shows right now, a lot of the people who are Black hosts have just received executive producer status this year. So they may be the front running host on the show or whatever for years and years and years, but they just got official deciding power this year. And for all of us in the industry, we know that executive producer really does mean something, having that beside your name or above your name. So that's what it means to me. I don't mind being the token, but as long as I have deciding power, I can make it worth something. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you just leave us if you have just an encouragement to people listening who are creating content or dreaming of content they want to create? Just what would you say to cheer them on today?
First of all, I love you all. creatives have to stick together. We call me, text me, message me. Like, I feel like we need to like continue to create a kind community that is just welcoming. So I'd love for you to, you know, reach out to me and reach out to people that you really admire. So that's my first like note to you all, that if you are a pastor or if you are a writer or an actor or whatever it is, reach out to the people that you admire, because you think we're all busy. And I think a lot of them are busy, but I've just reached out to them. I'll just send an email. Like, I'm just going to do it. I love this TV show. I'm going to do it. Send the email and say, can I take you to coffee? Probably not during COVID, obviously, but hey, everyone's, you know, ready for a Zoom call every now and again. So I'd say reach out to someone for sure. And I guess the biggest encouragement is to, you know, make the thing that you love. There's that statement that says, if you find the thing that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't fully agree with that, because doing the thing you love doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. But I will say, if you're going to work, and we are all going to work, it should be something that you're proud of and that you have a passion for. And when you no longer have a passion for it, find something else you could do to reignite your passion. You know, I think my generation is all about probably a plethora of jobs throughout our career. We kind of jump all over the place, and that's because we're all about passion and doing things that we love, so that we really enjoy it and we can give 110% while we're doing it. So that's what I would encourage you to do. Find the thing you love the most and do it and love it. And side hustles are awesome. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, if people want to find your show or they want to follow you,
yeah,
where do you want to send them today?
Well, my Instagram is at I am Meisha, Meisha, Meisha. And for the show, heymeisha.com. That's it.
Awesome. Meisha, thanks so much. I'm so glad to know you, be your friend, and just continue to be blown away by the stuff you're creating. It's so fun, vibrant, fresh. Can't wait to see what you do next.
Thanks, Joe. This was fabulous. I'll see you so soon.